Obviously, it's going to be a little bit foggy out there as we get underway on our trip. So we want to make sure a couple of things. If you're wearing a baseball hat, please turn that around backwards. It's an open air vehicle. It's going to get windy out there, and we don't want anything to fly out of the vehicle. We also want to make sure you stay seated with your seatbelt on at all times, and keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle. So if you want to hang on to the bars, that's perfectly fine, but please stay seated. And then if you have jackets, blankets, scarves, it's an open air vehicle. Sometimes the wind will grab it and kind of blows it out. So please be very cautious of that. Fog's kind of coming in. It doesn't completely ruin any of the tour. It's just going to make it a little bit colder. So you want to make sure you're kind of all buttoned and dressed up here. We'll be out on the sand dunes pretty soon. It's just a quick little 3/4 mile drive to get out there. So again, take the time, double check your belongings as we get going on our trip today.
Should we have goggles on?
You're good. You can close your eyes if it gets too bad.
All right, good. Thank you.
I can't. It's heavily frowned upon.
Oh my God. Super chilly, windy. Oh my goodness.
To the Oregon Dunes National Recreation Area here. So the way this basically is we were just on South Jetty Road. South Jetty is technically a recreation area with not only sand dune access, but dune and beach access for motorized and non-motorized vehicles. Now we're out through in the South Jetty parking lot right now. So this is a day-use staging area that has direct sand dune access. If you use the parking lot, it is $5 for the day, and it is open as well as the dunes from 6 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. There's restroom facility, direct sand dune access, as you will see us working our way out to the sand dunes through the parking lot. Now, there's going to be a couple of signs that we're going to come across, and if you've never been out on the dunes before, and you just decided to get into this as a hobby or something like that, signs like this are going to be somewhat important, as they will tell you what your vehicle needs to have on it. You'll see the vehicle regulation sign, and then a map of the area that will say where you can ride. So this area is from South Jetty to Syracuse, is this particular area. I'm going to kind of explain that as you take the tour today anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's a super neat area. This is all public land. You're looking at a lot of private individuals just coming out through here because, again, it's public land. You're on a tour, but anybody can come out and do this. It's a pretty amazing spot. We're going to work our way up to the first stop on our tour, which I have very low expectations about what we're going to be able to see, but we're still going to stop up there and see what kind of visibility that we actually have.
Oh my God. Pero vamos a subir allá. Oh my God. Oh my God. Pero it's amazing. Oh my God. Oh no. Yo quiero ver allá y no puedo ver. Pero así está bien.
Sí.
Ok. Mira. ¿Uno puede tocar la arena, Jersey? Jersey? ¿Uno puede tocar la arena?
No vamos a desmontar
Ah,
para
ok.
nada. Yo sepa, tal vez, pero
Ah, ¿no quiere grabar un poquito? ¿No? ¿O así? Yo lo tengo así.
Y
¿Está
sí.
grabando? ¿No le molesta?
No.
Ah, ok.
Usted me puede tocar todo lo que quiere.
Oh, oh. Jesus, mira.
I know you said there were dunes, but I never, ever could have imagined
Yeah.
not
¿Te
in a
imaginó
million
esto,
years.
Pedro?
Sí.
¿Sí lo imaginó?
No.
Yo no. Oh, oh.
I'm just squinting along.
All right, so this is the first stop on the tour here, and it's foggy, but we still get kind of an idea of two things. One, what some of the dunes look like. Again, we can't see it all, but that's okay because we're going to be going through the area no matter what, whether we can see anything from this vantage point or not. And understanding we're actually fairly high in elevation right now, so we're actually really into this fog layer because of the elevation. And when we drop down out of it, it's going to actually be a little bit better. So we're okay with that. We can see overall height as we look down to this area that's down below us, immediately out to the right of us over through here. So this is just a little strip of what we're going to be going through as we work our way out to the beach. This is actually called the Goose Pasture down through there. And when you look way out just on the other side of the tree line, you see off in the distance, you get just a little bit of glimpse here and there, some of that sand dune out there. Again, as the fog kind of comes in heavy and it goes away a little bit. But you can kind of almost make out some features out through, and those are going to be tree islands. I see just a glimpse every once in a while, but if you don't see it, that's fine. I look at this viewpoint all day long. I know exactly where they're at. But you can see how that fog just like rolled in, and it's really thick right now. It does that, and that's how it's not like constantly thick. It's little whiffs of heavy and dense fog, and then lighter fog.
How often is it this foggy?
Only when you guys are here. No, I'm just kidding. So the way it basically works with fog is our fog is usually related to weather patterns east of us. So when we are talking about higher temperatures along the I-5 corridor, like say maybe 80s or 90s,
Yeah, it's just the
generally
diesel,
in the 90s,
so.
it kind of brings the marine layer in. So it's not related to wind or wind direction. It's what other areas So if we're in the 90-degree temperature range over
calor, ¿no?
inland, like I said, that I-5 corridor, if that starts to hit in the 90s, upper 90s, we get fog here. This is our natural radiator. And we don't even really have that much wind today. And you can kind of see the flag wiggling around. Normally it's pretty consistently northwest, but it's kind of going slack at a couple of times here in this particular spot. And so, like I said, it's not really related from the wind. It's more what the temperature is inland. And today we only had, God, what was it? It was foggy last night. It rolled in, and then we had about maybe 2 hours that it burned off, and then it immediately kind of came back in. So like my last tour, it was already kind of foggy. This tour is just a little bit more, and again, it's not uncommon. As for how many days a week and stuff it does it, like I said, it's all dependent upon temperature. You know, we had 2 weeks or more that we had crystal clear sunsets. There was no fog out here whatsoever, hardly any wind, and you know, today there's not a lot of wind, but it's probably hot in the valley until the morning air comes in. And that's again, that's what keeps it cool out here, though.
What are the principal plants that we're looking at here with all the seed
That's what I'm
pods?
actually going to explain right now.
Nice.
So let me kind of start in with a tour here, guys. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the overall size of the Oregon Dunes. So the Oregon Dunes Recreation Area, the ODNRA. So if you're cruising along 101 and you see signs that say ODNRA, that's what that means, Oregon Dunes National Recreation Area. This is an area that stretches between 2 coastal cities of Florence and Coos Bay. We're just south of Florence right now, so it's about 40 miles of sand dunes. 2.5 to 3 miles at its widest point. It's about 30,000 acres of dunes within the National Recreation Area. Not all of it is drivable, so understand also you are in what they call an OHV area. That's an off-highway vehicle, and that's literally anything. Everything falls underneath 4 subcategories. Motorcycles, for example, are class 2s. ATVs are class 3s. I'm sorry, motorcycles are class 1s, ATVs are class 3s. We're in a class 2, which would be the same thing if you brought a pickup or any 4-wheel drive street legal vehicle, a sand rail of a certain size, things like that. UTVs are class 4s. Then everybody has to have, depending upon what the class is, certain things. So everybody has to have a flag, for example. If you're in a vehicle like this, if it's not street legal, helmets. If you are street legal, no helmets. So same thing as, like I said, if you're in a Jeep or something like that. ATVs and all of those, if you're under 18, you have to have a helmet. Larger ones like class 2s are also required fire extinguishers and shovels. So those are some subcategories, and then within those subcategories, there's these little things. But to be honest with you, what'll get you in trouble the most is not having a flag. So that is the one thing you'll see everybody have out here is a flag, and it's supposed to be generally 8 feet in the air. Now, OHV areas account for about 8,000 acres out of the 30,000 acres of sand dunes. So there are 3 main riding areas. We're in the northern one, middle one's Winchester Bay. The southern one starts just outside of a little town called Lakeside and goes all the way down to Coos Bay. Everything else in between is closed off, and a lot of our areas, even within riding areas, will point out sections that are closed off as well. Now we get down to the landscape. Half of our dunes are forested, so 15,000 acres of sand dunes completely covered up. Areas like we just left from the top of that large sand dune we were on, and then you probably notice we're slowly working our way down to pretty close to sea level here now as we work our way into goose pasture. That whole area was actually planted with pine trees. Now, the reason for it is going to be stabilizing the sand dunes, so they didn't want the sand dunes to go anywhere. And in order to keep that from happening, years previously to that, they introduced European beach grass, which you see all over the place. You'll see all this stuff around us. And then there's another one that's invasive, which is called Scotch broom, which wasn't purposely introduced. It was more of an ornamental plant introduced around gardens and things like that, brought in from European settlers. And it's a noxious, pretty nasty little plant. But those are the main ones that we'll have up here. I'll kind of break each section down as we go through. But yeah, that whole area we just went through was purposely forested. So it's a massive sand dune that they planted trees on top of in lieu of introducing more invasive plants. Now the invasive plants do what invasive plants do, is they just kind of take over anyway. So you'll see a lot of this all throughout the trip today. Even across this area, you'll look along these edges. That's all Scotch broom. We have beach grass in front of us. That's all beach grass. Beach grass hummocks. And again, I'll kind of talk about this here a little bit more as we take it through. road, which is going to bring us to the next stop on our tour, which will be actually right on top of what we call the foredune, overlooking the ocean. Now, as we take this trail system too, I want to explain a little bit more about OHV areas, because
Yeah, my
that's
ears
what
are
we're
cold.
actually in right now. So off-highway vehicles, like I said, can be anything, and if we start using these public lands to their fullest, that's going to involve camping. Now, we don't see any campers out here right now. There'll be another section we go through later on in the tour where we'll see campers out through there, and I always get lots of questions when we see the campers. So I'll kind of explain it a little bit before we get out there, because it's really pretty cool. This is not your typical campground, obviously, because we're out on the sand dunes. It is not managed like a typical campground either. It does have designated sites that you can reserve online only, so there's no host or anything like that that's out through here. And if we look out to the left, you'll see a sign that, or I should say a stake in the ground that has 11 on it. That's the marker for that campsite right there. So if you wanted to reserve campsite number 11, the Oregon Dunes National Recreation Area has a website devoted to sand camping. You would click all of the links that you needed to, click the link that you want for that site, pay for the site. You can stay up to 2 weeks out here if you want to. They're about $28 for a site, and you can reserve the sites 3 months in advance. Now, this is primitive camping. There is no amenities out here, so people will generally bring trailers out through here. That's the most common thing we see, is enclosed travel trailers and our fifth wheels. But I've seen Class A motorhomes, Class C motorhomes, overlanders, tents, you name it. And again, it's like anything else. It's completely up to the individual. You can make as much out of this as you want. You can make it as complicated as you want, or you can be as simple as you can possibly imagine. So, like I said, it's a pretty cool area, and we'll see some of those campers later on in the tour as we work our way through the next section, which is called the Southern Southland area. So we'll see the foredune here in front of us. We'll park up on top of that thing. Hopefully it's not too dense a fog here right along next to the ocean, and maybe we can see a little glimpse of the beach here before we start traveling down it.
It's like going to another planet.
Vamos a salir al mar.
Really? Vamos para el mar.
Okay.
Okay, so this is going to be our next stop here, and it's going to put us right on top of the foredune here. And we'll be on the beach for a couple of miles as we work our way from this goose pasture road to the Chapman Sand Road, which is going to take us out to the next area, which is again Sickness Outlet. Now, the beach stretch that we're going to be on is fairly unique. Two things. One, we got to remember we're driving in naturally formed coastal sand dunes. So these are some of the largest naturally formed coastal sand dunes in North America that reside right here along the Oregon coastline. And it looks so much different than the rest of the Oregon coastline. If you've driven anywhere along 101, this is going to be a very, very stark contrast from it, because all it is just sand. That is it. There is no rock features out through here anywhere. It's all dunes for 40 miles. Technically speaking, 40 miles plus, because this stretch of sand we're on technically goes north of Florence quite a ways, but it's not part of what we call the National Recreation Area. So the stretch of beach we're on right now was used at one point in time as a highway system. Long before we even had Highway 101, people traveled and went on vacation. 101 was established pretty much around the 40s. Previously to that, you would take ferries across the rivers and you just drive right down the beach like we're going to right now. This is all state land, so all of it is public up to the 10-foot median high tide mark. You can't own any of it, whether you have hotel, restaurants, or residential areas. All of it is still private, or all of this is still public. You can say you can't own it, especially in sections like this where there's so much availability out through here that you can walk around in front of. Now, most of these are going to be closed, but again, this was at one time historically used as a road system, so understand the uniqueness of the value of it. The posted speed limit at 25 miles an hour, and again, it's still state land. And you'll see here as we start driving down it, it's going to feel kind of endless, mainly because the fog's out through here, so you can't see anything in the distance. But it has the same feeling whether it's foggy out or a clear day. You just keep driving down the beach, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And it does. This stretch of sand we're on right now goes from Florence all the way down to Winchester Bay. One continuous belt of sand the whole way with zero interruptions. Even the little rivers that may come across it, you can actually walk through or
police or the beach patrol that was there? The okay.
Oh, tengo los antiguos por agua.
Right.
Se ve clarito acá.
Public safety and like.
Oh, mira las olas muy fuertes. Se ven fuertes las olas.
Sí.
No es.
Hay rótulos allá que dicen que hay corriente. Pero no la.
No, es frío.
Pero también porque la corriente.
Oh, wow. You haven't sent me all these pictures. 'Cause I
Vamos
just
súper largo, súper cerca, mira.
Sí.
Oh my God.
All right, so we will leave the beach here. The first thing we do is go over again the back top of this foredune, and we saw this as we went out to the beach and as we crossed back over. So anywhere you go to the beach areas within these dunes, you're going to go over this foredune out through here. Now, this is dominantly made up of European beach grass, which is a plant introduced to the Oregon coastal regions back in the 1900s, and it's an invasive plant. It was used around river system, coastal cities, and eventually along the shoreline. We more dominantly see it right along the ocean, but it creates two versions. One's going to be the foredune, the other one's going to be what we call grass hummocks, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but we can see grass hummocks through here. These lumps that you see, those are actual sand dunes, and they're just completely covered up by, well, in a lot of these instances here, the beach grass has been encroached on by the Scotch broom. So again, two invasive plants out through here. Now, the other section when we travel through is going to be what we call a deflation plain, and it's this pretty dense forested area that you'll see here in just a second. Now, the reasoning for the beach grass introduction was going to be stabilizing the movement of sand dunes, keeping the wind from blowing the sand into river systems, into coastal cities, and then eventually along the ocean, which is the source of our dunes. Average height of the seawall is about 40 feet tall. It goes well beyond the 40 miles of national recreation area. And other than some trail systems, maybe a couple of rivers here and there, really there's not any massive breaches. There's a couple of spots where beach grass has been removed as groups have collaborated together for removal of the beach grass for snowy plover habitat, which is a little endangered shorebird that we have along the Oregon coastline. So the beach grass significantly displaced the snowy plover's landscape. It didn't like nesting in grassy areas or in wooded areas. It liked more open sand dunes and driftwood and things like that, which is what this would have looked like many, many years ago. Now, as we travel through this particular section, this is pretty dense forest, and this is here as a result of the beach grass. So once the sand stops coming in from the ocean, it creates a totally different landscape out through here, and that's the result of it. Sand has been blown away from this area, keeps it really pretty flat. A lot of seasonal flooding out through here promotes the growth of wetland area grasses, and then eventually dense forests like this. And for the most part, this is all native plants through here. We will see some Scotch broom and some beach grass, but nowhere near the extent that we see anywhere else. It doesn't have a chance to take hold in this area, and the way it grows has a lot to do with it as well. In through here now, the sunlight barely actually even gets to the ground level, as it's completely shrouded out by all these native plants that grow through here. It's chock full of wildlife, and with high water table levels, year-round growth. So a lot of our area of sand dunes will see a significant amount of drought out through here as we do go through a few months with zero rainfall. These are not subject to that same problem because where they're at right through here. So there's a few trails that go through here. This one's called Hunter Sand Road. We just crossed over. That kind of goes north-south. We're doing this east-west trail, which is Chapman Sand Road. It's going to bring us out to Syracuse Outlet riding area. We haven't really seen this area yet because of that marine layer, so hopefully it's burned off enough that when we get out there we can actually see some of the sand dunes, and some of the cooler looks of the dunes are out here in front of us actually pretty shortly. So a little bit more on this trail. Once we get out here, I'll explain a little bit more how this deflation plane kind of affects our area as we kind of take on the rest of this tour.
¿Qué es eso?
Dunas.
Oh my God.
Está abriendo otra vez.
Mira, pero hay más adelante.
I know, I see it.
Wait, what do you see?
It's opening up into dunes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
No, eso no es playa. ¿Será que eso no es playa?
Son dunas. No.
No, que yo vi que tu mamá dijo que playa. No.
No swimming.
All right, so here pretty quickly, you will see the deflation plane forest will give way to this wetland area, and the standing water is actually water table water. So this is just accumulation of rainfall throughout the wintertime. If you're actually unfamiliar with the Pacific Northwest, I guess I should point to mention here, they consider this a temperate rainforest out through here. So not really known for our hot weather conditions or our freezing cold winter conditions. We're pretty much middle of the road. We just get annual rainfall amounts around 80 inches, and it does flood a lot of these areas out. And so we do get heavy rainstorms, but weather's actually pretty boring. I know there was a tsunami warning a couple of days ago, and that usually kind of piques some people's interest, especially if you're not around that. But a lot of it is in these areas when they put these warnings out really far in advance. You kind of have to really pay attention and see what that water is doing. So like the tsunami for us hit the same time that it was low tide, so you didn't even really notice it whatsoever because it hit at low tide. Now if it hit us at high tide, that would be a totally different story that maybe you'd have seen some effects. But because it was low tide and it was already an extremely low tide, it was a kind of a non-event, to be honest with you. So let's see here, back to this area. This is Syracuse Outlet. What we're looking at is a bunch of different things. We'll start out with the deflation plane. This is how this grows. If it was a bit windier, it would be easier to explain, but the wind blows kind of this direction the flag's blowing. This is like a northwesterly wind if it was going that way, and it flattens this area out, especially in the summertime when the sand's really dry. That is replaced in the wintertime by water. Eventually wetland grasses take over, and then eventually the forest takes over. That rate varies year after year, but the end result is the Forest Service figures about 100 years or so, and our dunes are going extinct. And so this has been a process that's been going on since the beach gas was introduced. It's not something that just happened overnight. It's been going on for well over 100 years. We look out further, we see these big beautiful sand dunes in front of us, and we see these tree islands. I was mentioning the tree islands the first stop on the tour. We couldn't see them. Like I said, we were standing up high elevation looking down. Now that we're down at like almost sea level, we're looking at them and we can see all 5 of these tree islands, with tree island number 1 over here to the right of the vehicle. It's kind of coming in and out of view a little bit, but it's enough that you can see it. And then 5 is out to the left. So we have 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to go to 4 on our trip today as our next stop. And then I mentioned the campers out through here, so when you look out to the left you can see some of our campsites. And I said the people get some pretty bougie setups out through here. Now that is nothing fancy though when it comes down to the type of vehicle, right? That's not anything you don't see anywhere else driving around anywhere in the United States pulling a trailer. That is your atypical 1-ton pickup setup that doesn't have big elaborate tires on it, oversized. That's pretty basic. Like I said, it's just very expensive, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't have any equipment on it, like you would maybe think it would. And they just deflate all the air out of their tires. Now, these guys are at campsite 15 and 16 because there's another group around the corner we'll see here in just a second. And they come in from the southern entrance of this area, which is Syracuse Outlet Road, has a road system that comes in here, and then they have to drive all of this way down. And this stretch is a 1.5 miles long, I think, maybe 2 miles along this stretch. But this stuff is pretty packed, and it's really easy to drive on. So we will work our way, like I said, to Tree Island 4 as the next stop on our tour here.
Of course, all my cough drops are in the car.
Right where they want.
Already going. I got it. Yeah.
Tu mamá, para tu mamá, ábralo.
is just kind of a quick stop here, looking down into one of our tree island areas. This one's going to be tree island number 4. The water is an accumulation of rainfall throughout the winter. Again, annual amounts of rainfall are about 80 inches, and a lot of that doesn't end up back in the ocean. It just stays in these sand dunes and floods it out. So we do get an impressive amount of water that accumulates out through here throughout the winter time. Now, they are all fresh water. The tree islands are protected as they are natural landmark features, and a lot of what I've talked about on this particular part of the tour has been the areas that are forested, and a lot of that is here as a result of humans meddling with the landscape. The tree islands are none of those. We look out to the left, we're also being hit into some of our bordered areas where we're just not allowed to drive our own personal vehicles out through here, and rightfully so. There's lots of state parks and campground areas that are out through here that are adjacent to OHV areas, and we're really trying to kind of separate all that stuff out. Now, we'll be working our way north here, past another one of our tree islands. We'll have another stop and look at this area before we actually leave it. So.
otro alto.
see all the tree islands.
Oh my gosh.
But you get, again, a bit of an idea. You know, we can kind of working our way through the area. We can use that camp that's out over there right along the edge of the flats there. You can see kind of to the front right. That's one of those campsites I was mentioning, campsite 15. We can see some of the tree islands out through here. 4 and 5 are the two that we went by. Great landmarks, like I had mentioned earlier. Not only are they amazing, unique landmark features out through here, but they're great points of interest for navigating the sand dunes. And you kind of see that fog comes in and it kind of goes. It can get pretty, this is probably one of the times where it gets really pretty confusing for a lot of people out here. Now, years ago before GPS, it was probably worse. And as for fog, yeah, it is, but it's not terrible. I've been out here where it's so foggy you couldn't see the first sand dune in front of us. That's how dense a fog it can actually get out through here. So it can get pretty disorientating if you're kind of unfamiliar with two things. One, how quick it comes in, and what to do if maybe you didn't have some kind of a GPS device with you to figure out how to get to a landmark out through here. Now we're just going to keep working our way north. We're going through some of the areas we've already basically gone through, just a different way to get there. And that's the neat thing about the area. There's lots of trail systems that take you to the same areas all the time, which can be confusing, but also it's kind of neat because you're not always on the same trail going to and from the same areas. And that's what's kind of unique about it. So from here, which is this large Goose Outlet riding area, we're going to go into Goose Pasture, which we were there earlier as we worked our way out to the beach. So we're going to kind of look at these little features here. Now the wind blows and creates a very specific shape only in the summertime, and that is northwesterly winds with drier conditions, and it makes what we call a transverse sand dune. That's what's in front of us, is almost a vertical drop off there. And those will build up as the summer goes along, but the winter winds will erase that feature, making it just round, and if not just flat in some instances. So these are both beautiful, amazing, unique, and very dangerous all at the same time. Because if you don't see one of those things and you go zipping off on one, you can hurt yourself pretty quick. And light conditions play a lot with it, knowledge obviously, but just, I mean, even lack of concentration. Like you just take a half a second to look behind you, maybe see if one of your riders is behind you, and you can go off of one of those. It's just endless stories I've heard. I read with friends out here, groups out there here. Every one of us has some kind of a story related to, you know, nearly hurting ourselves or scaring you good enough that you kind of take that speed a little bit. But when you go north, you can see it pretty easy. So direction of travel, like I said, has a lot to do with it. Again, time of year as well.
That's a hawk over there,
Yeah, there's a hawk kind of whipping in and out over here out to the left, looking for some squirrels. Yeah, there's mice out here too. Yeah, a lot of little mice, squirrels, chipmunks. There's snakes out here too. They're not poisonous snakes. They're like gardener snakes. But yeah, there's a wide variety of varmints that live out here. pasture staging area. A little bit more popular generally. It's kind of surrounded by trees, so on really windy days, if you can get out of that wind, it's actually a lot nicer than if you're, just getting the brunt of it coming right off the ocean. We're also back kind of this northern trail out through here. So this is the northernmost trail you can actually take on the sand dunes, and this is going to bring us around to the last stop on our tour, which is going to put us right back in that South Jetty area.
Yeah, the biggest change you'll see is the change from summer to winter and winter to summer. And it's going to be wind direction. So in the summertime, the wind comes out to the north.
Los árboles, qué raro.
Sí.
And then you get a lot of rain too.
Qué increíble.
Seven is about the most as you're going to get. At least 7's the amount that I've only ever caught at the most. So usually by the time you do 7 trips a day, it's pretty much close to 9 o'clock.
Wow. Whoa. Strong person.
What was that?
You're a strong person.
Oh God, no. That's why I do this. Strong people do things like, construction and roofing. I'm
Yeah.
kind of fat and lazy, so this kind of fits more my speed. I can sit around and talk all day long.
Well, this is one of the more amazing things that I have done. That was more than 25 years ago.
That was 1994.
That was 94. So it was 30 years ago.
¿Usted vio a Jesse?
Ah.
Pura gente mayor, muy mayor en estos carritos. Oh boy, pero... Ajá.
Pedro.
All right, normally this would be a spot I'd stop at and let you get the photos, but we can't see anything, so I'm not gonna stop. So we'll just go down through the staging area parking lot here in front of us. This is where we started out at. That's about all you can actually see right now is actually the parking lot there, and then we're going back up to Sailing Adventures there.
This is a lot better than
There's
sitting in
so much mist here. It feels so cold.
Jesse, le tomo una foto aquí. Cedro.
Cuidado.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Yes, yes.
Ya salimos.
That's a good word. That's a good name. It really is. Yeah, for sure.
No, no. Oh, wow. Mira, mira cómo se ve ahí. Ah, por acá. La gente está acampando aquí.
We went camping in front of Sissy's. Yeah, we're in RVs. Yeah. Little did we know. Yeah.
niño ahí adentro. Sí, viene el niño. Yo veo un niño ahí.
Probably one of the last manual transmission vehicles left.
No, there's a lot. Yellow line. They got, I don't know, more manual transmissions.
Nice.
Here we are. Wow.
Yay.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That was very interesting. I would have given it a 25. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. But with that,
Handrails down, then we'll start letting you off the vehicle. I ask that you're very cautious when you stand up, not to hit your head on the bar. Same goes as you work your way towards the front, duck underneath those things as well. And thanks for riding with us here at Sandland Adventures.
Maybe I missed it. Did you say how the tree islands
Natural trees. They didn't really technically form more
Jesse?
left behind as a result of